Chapter 6, Greenfoot. We are going to be making a piano on the keyboard, and this will teach us how to interact with objects and sounds a little bit differently than what we've done before. We will also be covering abstraction, and that's making our code a little bit more robust. Loops, arrays, object-oriented structure, which is again going to tie in with our abstraction. And we will be introduced to parallel arrays. I'll give you an example of that in just a moment. The scenario is a piano. This is what the keyboard looks like. If we click on Run, we can play the piano. And we have white keys, black keys, etc. And the process of creating these keys uses a loop, which is one of our topics. If we look at the code and I scroll down, you are going to be introduced to a for loop. That's a special kind of a loop. It has 3 components of a loop built into a shortcut statement here. Every loop has to have what we call an initialization. I call it the init, a guard, and an update. And in this particular case, our initialization is setting the I variable to 0. The guard is checking to see what condition must be true for the loop to execute. And then I have to update this, what's called the loop control variable, which in this case is I. I have to update that or I create what's called an infinite loop. It doesn't have to go up. It could go up or down. And as needed, there might be some more videos on loops, but you can also check the internet and Google for writing loops in Java. But this is a pretty common loop, the for loop. The other topic that we have that's new is arrays. And an array is just a list of data in memory. This is an example of an array. This particular data is a string data type. When you declare an array, you have to use the keyword for, the data type. And it's a keyword for the data type. So string, for example, you have to have a bracket that designates it's an array and the name of the array. And in this particular example, this array is automatically being filled with a list of data. And they will talk you through more of that in your textbook. This particular array, white keys, is paired with another array called white notes. And that's what we call a parallel array, or it's a set of arrays actually. So parallel arrays are 2 arrays that have a one-to-one correspondence. So for example, the letter A corresponds with 3C. The letter S corresponds with 3D, etc. So that's what's called a parallel array. So we're going to be talking more about those in the textbook, so look for these key things: loops and arrays and parallel arrays. At the end of the chapter, you're going to get to use your practice of loops and possibly implementing some sound with a bubble scenario. The bubble scenario is going to be something like this, or if you create a new bubble and put it on the screen, if you notice, it's going to randomly create different sizes of bubbles. And this one is not all the way done. It's just going to show you or give you an idea. And when you run it, they are going to bounce off walls, and eventually you could also add some sounds with it if you want, or they're going to talk you through creating this scenario. So this is what it may look like at the end, but you also might add some of your own variations. That's an overview of Chapter 6 again in Greenfoot. We hope you have fun with this chapter.